Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, to the influencer conversations. First up is Treebo Hotels. On the other side of a break is Doodlage. The budget hotel segment here in India has been changing rapidly. And I caught up with Sidharth Gupta of Treebo Hotels to really understand what they're doing when it comes to keeping abreast of all these changes, as well as what his advice is for our entrepreneurs if they're in a similar space or looking to expand. Here's what he had to say. Sidharth, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Sure.
And it's a beautiful office. The energy here is great, and you work with a very young team. So I'm looking to get insights into what Treebo really does and how it's doing it differently in this budget space.
Sure.
There are three co-founders at Treebo. So maybe we start by talking about where the vision for this came about, why you decided that the budget hotel space was something that you wanted to be present in.
Sure. I think I would start by saying that I was fortunate that I found my co-founders before I found the idea that I wanted to spend the rest of my working life on. The three of us go back a long way. We met in college together and we've known each other for a long time. And in 2015, the three of us came together and started thinking about what kind of business we want to build. And this idea appealed to us a lot because I think as people who have ourselves grown up in middle-income families, we kind of connected with the problem over here, where we felt that for someone who's looking to spend, let's say between 1,000 to 2,000, 2,500 rupees on a hotel room night, there was no decent experience available. There was no professional brand available. There were only independent mom-and-pop hotels. And given that the Indian consumer is moving towards consuming branded offerings in all consumer spaces, this seemed like an obvious gap to us. So that's why we thought we'll attempt to building the first ever professional hotel brand at this price point, which could offer our customers a dignified stay at an affordable price point.
Okay.
And that's how this was born.
Okay. So you're saying that you're looking at a branded hotel and a branded chain really in the budget hotel space. And this budget hotel space has definitely seen a lot of changes. We've seen some of the biggest names in the country, whether it's ITC Hotels or whether it's Taj Hotels, also entering this space. And of late we've seen reports suggesting that Paytm perhaps has also entered the budget space. So my question to you really is, what are the biggest changes you've seen? And how have you ensured that you've stayed relevant because of perhaps all the brands that maybe were in the market a while ago? You don't see too many of those. This clearly is a challenging market. What has been your USP?
See, this segment of the market has indeed been very attractive to a lot of players, not just recently, but like you correctly said, over a very long period of time. This is no doubt a challenging segment, and I think people have attempted it using various models. Some of the conventional hospitality chains have attempted it by developing assets, leasing assets, and trying to lower the price point by, let's say, stripping out some service-related amenities. Whereas some of the recent players have also tried to address it by being just the distribution layer, the aggregation layer, which basically just allows these properties to go online. Paytm example you gave is also similar, where they're also now trying to sell hotels directly on their platforms. The approach that we have tried to take, however, is one that is asset light in nature and uses technology and process innovations to almost create a whole new model of hospitality. Right? So it is very different from how, let's say, the Gingers and Lemon Trees of the world have approached it. And of course, they've done quite well as well, no doubt about it. But in terms of really building scale in this space and maintaining the price point at a level which is still affordable, and yet giving that kind of experience to the customers, required one to just totally reinvent how the hospitality models can be applied to this, and that's what we have done. Okay,
so you're saying this is a challenging industry, and my question to you really is, what are some of the biggest challenges really? India, of course, is a very price-sensitive market. Is that perhaps one of your biggest challenges?
Absolutely.
You were talking of an asset-light model. Is that perhaps another challenge?
I think the price sensitivity is obviously the biggest challenge, right? And it's a little bit like you have to do what McDonald's did to the food industry, right? Where you obviously need to offer a standardized product. You need to offer basic hygiene, good quality. But at the same time, you cannot be selling at the same prices at which a 4-star, 5-star hotel is selling.
Sure.
So how do you strike this careful balance between economics for the company and offering a good experience for the customer and doing this at scale? Right? Because it would have been one thing to do this for a handful of properties. You could have done it in 2 properties, 5 properties, 20 properties. But to be able to do this in a manner which can scale to hundreds of properties, thousands of properties, that is where the true challenge lied and required a whole bunch of innovations for you to get there.
Okay, and what you're doing and a lot of your peers are doing as well is leveraging technology, because right now you're split in terms of revenue between your tier 1 and your non-tier 1 markets is about 20-80. Technology is helping you in that, right?
No, indeed, technology plays a big role in everything that we do, right? For example, we have developed some in-house technology to control the quality of experience at our hotels, right? So far, hotels have primarily focused on reservations related technology, whereas we prioritize the quality related technology, which helps us keep a good experience at all our properties, right? So that has been one of the key elements. We've also tried to apply technology on the customer facing channels to make sure that the booking experience is very simple, very quick, very straightforward.
Sure.
Similarly, on the hotel side of things, we've also given technology to these hotels, because a lot of these hotels were still accustomed to operating in a very traditional pen and paper manner. They would still have those large registers, a lot of forms to be filled, etc. And they did not have any way of keeping a digitized track record of their reservations. So all of these pieces of technology have, like I said, allowed us to do this in a scalable manner.
If you've had a bad experience, if a customer's had a bad experience, has gone on social media, has gone on, say, a TripAdvisor and given you a bad review, how do you come back from that?
Look, I mean, our emphasis in such a situation always is twofold. A, to engage with the customer quickly, particularly if he or she is still in the middle of the stay and is facing some challenges, and to resolve those challenges very, very quickly. And second, get our learnings from that and make sure we apply that to our practices in the future so that same issues, same mistakes don't happen again.
Okay.
We actually don't care too much about, hey, you've written a wrong review or a bad review, what will that do to our reputation? Because even if it's a bad review, it's precious feedback for us.
As a leader in this space, what insights can you offer our viewers who are perhaps in the budget hotel space? We were speaking about the challenges, the don'ts. What do's would you want them to look at?
I think it's very important to almost design from a clean sheet the model that you want to implement in this space.
Sure.
Right? I think we should be cautious about just implementing the standard conventional models of hospitality. So that's one, that you have to innovate clean sheet for this segment.
Sure.
I think the second thing, very important, is to keep your costs under control, because this is of course a price sensitive market, like you said earlier. And if you don't have a cost structure which is lean and mean, your economics will go for a toss.
Sure.
And third, I think it's important to, if you're operating in the budget segment, look beyond tier 1 as well. Right? The opportunity is spread all over the country. Of course, the Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad of the world are great, but there is opportunity sitting in a Nashik, in a Raipur, in a Guwahati, and in all of the other such places.
I'm running out of time in this interview, but I just very quickly want to talk about the fact that you've raised substantial amount of funds. You also went through a period where you had to perhaps relook at your business model. There were some layoffs, etc. So you've seen the highs and you've seen the lows. What has that experience taught you?
Startups are always roller coasters, and indeed, I think most of the times you're going through lows, and very rarely do you see the highs. But I think one thing that it has taught us is that you can never take, temporary external stimulations, like for example, raising a new round of funding or temporarily seeing a spike in your sales. You cannot take these things for granted. You really need to build business in a sustainable manner, such that eventually you take control of your own destiny. You're a profitable company and you're doing well for all your stakeholders, most importantly the customer. And that's what you need to focus on.
Thank you so much, Sidharth, for your time here on The Leaders of Tomorrow.
Pleasure being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Time for a break. On the other side, our second The Influencer conversation tonight is Doodlage. What is this brand all about? Do stay tuned. More when we come back. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight our second The Influencer conversation is with Doodlage. Our second conversation tonight is with a young entrepreneur who's involved in the world of fashion and wants to ensure that the impact of fast fashion on the environment is being reduced one step at a time. This conversation tonight is with Doodlage. Do listen in to what they're doing when it comes to innovation as well as expansion. Take a listen.
Fast cars, fast trains, fast food, and fast fashion. In a constant hurry to meet our aspirations, we often overlook the negative impact of these fast but harmful choices. The fashion industry is notorious for the negative environmental impact that ensues in a bid to get cheap, mass-produced clothing. Changing this one upcycled and recycled garment at a time is Delhi-based company Doodlage. Started by designer Kriti Tula in 2014, this company is spinning yarns of sustainable fashion.
Kriti, great to have you in our studios today, talking about Doodlage, talking about how the business really has progressed in the last 4 to 5 years that you've been in existence. I want to start by talking about your journey as an entrepreneur. And where the idea really for having a brand which is in the sustainable fashion market really came about.
So I started my journey in around 2014. Actually, the brand was registered in 2012. I went for my master's from there on to London College of Fashion. But since its inception, we had an idea that I would always come back to start something like this. And since 2014, we've been creating collection after collection to really understand the problems in the fashion industry, right from the problem of wastages in the fashion industry to managing our own waste in the fashion industry to understanding the problems of maintaining an ethical fashion system, which means that the people who are working under you are paid living wages and not just fair wages. So as a country, we've developed as a production-based country, which also means that designing for fashion happens in one part of the world and production for fashion happens in another part of the world, which has always led the people who work, the artists who create fashion industry in the losing end of the bargain. Even at the age of 50, etc., they're barely getting minimum wages, and more people are moving out of the system for production specifically. So we started our journey about 4 years back to understand those problems and address every issue while we grow.
Why Doodlage? Why that name?
Doodlage in itself started with post-production wastages, which meant that every time we created garments, every garment had like a little special something on it because we were actually fixing the fabrics while we were creating our collection. So every artisan that we work with doodles just a little bit of himself in each of the piece, and hence the name Doodlage.
Okay, what exactly is sustainable fashion? How would you describe really this market or this industry for our viewers?
I would say that sustainability and sustainable fashion is a very broad space, and everybody is also trying to understand this space. Every brand that exists there is trying to understand a little bit of what and how to grow in the field of sustainability. What does that mean? And you can divide it in ethical fashion, eco-friendly clothing, or circular fashion, which is where we exist, where we call us as a brand that works towards circularity in fashion. What I mean when I say circular fashion is when you start thinking about the end of the life of a product that you create. So fashion in itself was built in a linear model. So when I say linear model, it mainly means that you take the resources, create the fabric, create the product, but once the garment is actually consumed, you stop thinking about it. And as our production is increasing and as our buying capacity is increasing, it's becoming more and more problematic to just have so many garments, and where do they go? What happens to them? In the fashion industry, wastages are created at post-production level, especially in India, because we're a production-based country. So we create fabric wastages while we're producing the garment, and we create garment wastages once we've consumed the garment.
Sure.
And at this point, we have resources to work with recycling of this fabric, etc. We have dari weavers, we have recycling going within our country for about 40 years, but we're still importing these garments to recycle. We don't have collection systems per se within the country. And when we started the brand, we also thought about, if you're working with fabric wastages, where are we getting those fabric wastages, etc. from? And then that is when we started with post-production wastages, because we knew export houses and we knew production houses. And then we said, you have wastages. Sure. Let's start thinking about what to do with that instead of throwing it away.
It's often, perhaps it's a misconception, thought that sustainable fashion and the sustainable fashion industry is necessarily more higher priced than non-sustainable products and fashion. Okay. How do you want to answer that?
See, there are reasons for everything, right? So in sustainability or sustainable fashion industry, like you said, everything that's niche, everything that's produced in lesser numbers, everything that's consumed is lesser numbers. It's not reached a level of, getting economies of scale. So if I'm only producing, say, about 1,500 pieces and I'm only selling 1,500 pieces by the end of the year, then the pricings of those products would be slightly higher, firstly. And then a lot of people work with, where are you positioning your brand as well. So it depends. If you're making a designer wear label for a premium market where there is a lot of design and sensibility that's going into it, that might be the reason as to why your product's priced higher. But if you're creating a mass brand, like we are actually aiming to create an affordable, sustainable fashion brand. And even so, and even then, our price range starts from anywhere between 2,500 to 6,500. But we want to actually work towards getting into 4,500 as a sweet spot so that we're able to reach the masses. If I cannot create a mass brand for sustainability, I'll not be able to create the impact.
So is there a market for brands like yours outside of the metros in tier 3, tier 4, etc.? If you're looking at some point, if you're looking at scale, if you are looking at affordable, sustainable fashion, is there a market there?
We actually already work with a lot of tier 1 and tier 2 cities. We are available
outside of the metros.
Yeah, we're working with Raipur, we're working with endless number of, and our consumer is everywhere. It's not, it's about how you, one, make your product more accessible, reachable. We launched our website last year. So I feel that has allowed us to reach to the metros and the non-metros as well.
I want to talk about really online fashion. And the fact that over the past couple of years, India has really seen its market opening up as far as online retail is concerned, and a subsect of that really is what is happening as far as the online fashion market is concerned. First, your thoughts in terms of how this market is really growing. Two, it's no surprise, and everyone knows the fact that the prices that are being offered by online retailers are deeply discounted, and definitely competition to brands like yours.
Yes, it definitely is. But like for brands like ours specifically, we started our journey with multi-designer stores specifically because, there are also very limited channels available for homegrown brands to scale. So either you go to your mass retailers like a Shoppers Stop or a Lifestyle, or you work with multi-designer stores which are available like an Ogan or a Azza, etc. So you have to identify where you're working and what's that market that you're working with. And once we did identify that, we also identified over a period of last 4 years that, we might not be able to reach the masses this way. Okay. And that is when last year we launched our own website and said, now that people know about what we're doing and we're connected to so many people on social media around the globe, let's, give it a run or understand if people are able to connect to more curated spaces, more specific websites.
Quickly, we're running out of time on this interview, but I want to talk about maybe some of the biggest challenges that you've seen in this journey, what your learnings have been from that.
When we started, because there wasn't, we wanted to understand where we are, what we want to do, what is our raw material going to be like. To create a sustainable fashion brand, where is it that we are, what is it that we're representing? How are we solving a problem? And that journey of understanding every bit of a problem. We started with working with post-production wastages, which means that every mass garment manufacturer produces massive quantities of wastages, which means that if I talk about a large-scale manufacturer who is able to produce about 1.5 lakh pieces a day, they're also ending up rejecting about 45,000 meters of fabric. So we knew, and we had to reach out to these people to change their ways of, how they're discarding these wastages. Instead of always making durries or downcycling it into blankets, can we do more with it? And that is, we had to create an entire supply chain for all of that. We had to reach out to all of those people to be able to extract all of those raw materials and then educate the consumer about why we do what we do.
Yeah.
So that journey has been excruciating, but it's been fun, and we've found ways of learning so many things along the ways.
Is it a size that you can put to this market? It's so niche.
Yes. Actually, it's not niche at all. It's just how can you reach out to this market? If you see the studies, and which is why we've stuck to this space as well, if you see the studies, there are about 440 million millennials in the country, out of which about 44% of them are actually happy to invest more on sustainability or premium products or premium prices for ethically made products, etc. And that comes to about 198 million people.
Okay, so that's definitely a huge addressable market.
That's a huge market.
Sure. Okay, so then what next for you?
It's to actually scale up all of this, to be able to reach out more and more people with what we do and how we do, and tell the story of what we do, and actually give consumers an option to declutter their wardrobes and connect their products back to recycling units. There's so many opportunities within the space and system. So the funds are actually to be able to scale and be able to address all of those problems.
Wish you all the best then.
Thank you.
With a strong focus on glamour that's greener and cleaner, Doodlage is redefining how we view and wear fashion.
All right, out of time on this show. If you have any feedback for us, do get in touch. leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com is our email ID. Reach us on social media. Sunanda_J is my Twitter handle. LOT_ET_Now is our official Twitter handle. Reach us also on Facebook, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.